Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. Lee here, and welcome to my weekend books. I'm not sure how to describe this weekend books. It was an okay week. It started with a DNF. I began Misinterpretation by Lydia Joga, and I got, maybe 75 pages in, and I had to DNF it. Let me tell you what it's about first. This I thought would be right up my alley. It's inventive and it's about an interpreter slash translator, so I thought I would really appreciate it. I did not. In present-day New York City, an Albanian interpreter reluctantly agrees to work with Alfred, a Kosovar torture survivor, during his therapy sessions. Not a good idea. Despite her husband's cautions, she soon becomes entangled in her client's struggles. Alfred's nightmares stir up her own buried memories, and an impulsive attempt to help a Kurdish poet leads to a risky encounter and a reckless plan. As ill-fated decisions stack up, jeopardizing the nameless narrator's marriage and mental health, she takes a spontaneous trip to reunite with her mother in Albania, where her life in the United States is put into stark relief. I never got that far. When she returns to face the consequences of her actions, she must question what is real and what is not. And that right there is what bothered me about this. And I may try to give this a shot if it makes the short list. But I felt disoriented while reading this. And I've read books that made me feel that I didn't know what the hell was going on, that somebody was lying to me, and I was okay with that. But maybe I just wasn't okay with this because of, I don't know, life. So like I said, I may give this another shot if it makes the short list, but for right now, like, I didn't know what the hell was going on, and not in the good ways. I felt like something wasn't right, which again, that's for me in this reading of it, it was a negative, but down the road, it may work for me. So we'll see if it makes the short list. So after DNFing that, I did video last week about the passing of Greg Iles, and I thought I would do a reread of Blood Memory. This was not a reread for me. This was, I had marked it as read because I thought I read it, but it was published in 2005, so it's likely either something, I was deployed then, so it's more likely that this is something my mother bought and just gave to me. It doesn't have her name in it, but this book was so problematic for me. And spoilers start here. Wait, let me back up. I'll tell you what it's about, and then I'm going to give you my spoilery review. I had some issues with this. Catherine "Cat" Ferry is a forensic odontologist, a specialist in bite marks and the clues they provide. But while Cat's colleagues know her as a world-class scientist, she secretly attempts to manage her fragile psyche with alcohol, delving into the minds of rapists and murderers, yet never allowing her own frightening past to creep into the foreground. Cat's latest case involves a disturbing murder in New Orleans. Banishing her personal demons, she focuses on the potential killer until one morning she's paralyzed by a panic attack at a grisly murder scene. Praying the attack is a one-time event, she continues her job as a consultant to the New Orleans Police Department. But when another victim dies in the same shocking way, raising fears that a serial killer is at large, Cat blacks out over the victim's mutilated corpse. Suspended from the FBI task force, plagued by nightmares and at odds with her married lover, a homicide detective, Cat finally reaches her breaking point. In a desperate effort to regain control over a life spiraling out of control, Cat retreats to her hometown of Natchez, Mississippi, but her family's secluded antebellum estate provides no sanctuary. When some of Cat's forensic chemicals are spilled, this is a long blurb, in her childhood bedroom, two bloody footprints are revealed. This sight shocks her more than any corpse she has seen in her career, etc., etc. Cat's father was murdered, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so she's still got to find him, track down the serial killer, and figure out the mysteries of her own past. And here's where the spoilers start. this book was so problematic for me. One, there are some men who write women really well. In this book, this woman was not written well, in my opinion. A couple months back, my boss was over at our office and he was having conversations. And I don't know how this came up, but the talk about people making emotional decisions. And he said, it's mostly women who do that. No, it's not. But, I mean, how many men get in bar fights? How many people are shot in North Carolina every day over what? Fights? Emotions. Anywho, that's not what I'm here to argue. But it's easy to see how that stereotype can be reinforced when you read a book like this. And this woman made emotional decisions all the time. First of all, this is a story about child sexual abuse, and it is not light. So you're having emotions because you were traumatized as a child is completely valid. I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but every time somebody tells you something that is shocking to you, you turn and physically run away. Every decision this woman made was emotional. She did not seem like an odontologist or a forensic specialist in any way. So here's the spoilers. Her grandfather had sexually abused her and later killed her father. But she was also kind of dumb because her grandfather told her three or four different times stories of how her father died. And each time she's like, and runs away. Like, at some point when you get to the second story or the third story, aren't you like, wait a second, buddy, get your shit together because you're lying to me. And he was. But she just believed everything he told her every time. Like, the thing that he told her before didn't even happen. So, also, and I did a shallow dive on this. I did not do a deep dive. But he reinforces the idea that people who commit child sexual assault are always victims of other assaulters. I don't know that that's true. I think that is beginning to be questioned in the scientific community. Again, I only did a shallow dive, and that shallow dive was dark enough. I did not want to go do a deep dive because that's kind of awful. So at the end, she's like, oh, well, her grandfather had done that, but she also knew that something bad had happened to him. It did not ring true to me. It felt false. So, end of spoilers. Anywho, I don't even think I rated that, or no, I think I rated it 2 stars. It was terrible. It was just not what I expected from Greg Iles, the Greg Iles of my memory. And I hate to say that because he just passed away, and I remember liking him, and I have a stack of books by him. Maybe others are better. And I will say also, this was written 20 years ago. That could have been, that idea about sexual assaulters only being victims, or only being that because they are victims of it, that could have been in an idea that was prevalently thought back 20 years ago. I don't remember, because I don't remember. Anywho, so next up, I was still kind of rattled about my DNF from the Booker Prize, so I thought, I'm not ready to go back onto the Booker Prize long list again. In fact, I'm still not ready. I do want to read most of the books left, but I may not. I may wait for the short list. I reserve that right. I always knew from the start it was a, kind of big ambition. And I may change the way I read them, because the one that's up next is one I'm not sure I want to read at all. And yet I bought it. we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anywho, so next I went for All the Murmuring Bones by A.J. Slater. And this was a win for me. I think that I will like some of the others better in this universe, the sourdough universe. Pacing was a bit of an issue for me, so I gave it 3 stars. It got off to a really slow start and just kind of, it was a slow burn all the way, but I ended up enjoying it. I just wished it had been paced a little more paced a little quicker. Long ago, Mirren O'Malley's family prospered due to a deal struck with the Myrrh, safety for their ships in return for a child of each generation. But for many years, the family have been unable to keep their side of the bargain and have fallen into decline. This is bargain. That is a key point to the story, and that's what I loved. But you don't really get that until the very end. You don't really understand it, and I liked that reveal. Mirren's grandmother is determined to restore their glory, even at the price of Mirren's freedom. A spellbinding tale of dark family secrets, magic and wishes, and creatures of myth and the sea, of strong women and the men who seek to control them. And I like, this was really a tale of a journey. But again, the pacing was off for me. However, I had to stop myself from picking up the next book in this sourdough universe. And I really want to get back to it, but I'm going to probably wait maybe until next month. But I do recommend this. I saw a reviewer who rated it really low because she said there was no magic, and I was like, what are you talking about? If you read the whole book, there is magic in there. It's just not maybe in the way you wanted it to be. It's there, though. But again, slow start, and it's not until she starts moving that the story starts moving as well. But I recommend it. It was a good read. So, again, still not ready to go back to the booker. I chose Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life. And a friend of mine read this, and she didn't really like it. I think she gave it 3 stars, which is still a good book. But the complaint was that the romance wasn't really there. And I can give her that. It was like insta love, insta romance. And yet, this just hit for me. And it could have been that I wanted something different. And it could be, kind of anything. But it hit for me. I didn't love it, but I really liked it. It's a story within a story. Alice Scott is an eternal optimist, still dreaming of her big writing break. Hayden Anderson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud, and they're both on balmy little Crescent Island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years, or at least meet with the octogenarian who claims to be Margaret Ives. Tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. When Margaret invites them both for a 1-month-long trial period, after which she'll choose the person who'll tell her story, there are 3 things keeping Alice's head in the game. 1. Alice genuinely likes people, which means people usually like Alice, and she has a whole month to win the legendary woman over. 2. She's ready for this job and the chance to impress her perennially unimpressed family with a serious publication. 3. Hayden Anderson, who should have no reason to be concerned about losing this book, is glowering at her in a shaken-to-the-core way that suggests he sees her as competition. But the problem is, Margaret is only giving each of them pieces of her story, pieces they can't swap to put together because of an ironclad NDA and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. And it's becoming abundantly clear that their story, just like the tale Margaret's spinning, could be a mystery, a tragedy, or a love ballad, depending on who's telling it. There is a lot going on in this book. You've got Margaret's story, you've got Hayden's story, there's kind of an old hippie in here, there's Alice's story, and Alice's family's story. And it hit for me. It was a Good read. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. Anywho, that's what I read this week. Currently, I am listening to Antony Beevor's Ardennes, 1944, The Battle of the Bulge. I am only on chapter 5. I did take a break this weekend from listening to it so I could listen to music. But this is a shorter one. I think it's only 14 hours. And I did not do what I said I was going to do and stop and write things down in here or pick it up after, you know, coming home from work and reviewing what I had listened to. I will try to do better about that. Knock on wood. I am currently reading The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cooke. We were coming up on a cooler week, kind of, somebody called it Ogtober. So I think this will be good for this week's reading. This is, like I said, The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cooke. When single mother Liv is commissioned to paint a mural in a 100-year-old lighthouse on a remote Scottish island, it's an opportunity to start over with her 3 daughters. Let me just tell you this. I just went out back and read a little bit from this, and something happened, and Liv ran emotionally. I can let it slide because C.J. Cooke is a woman, and we'll see how the rest of the story goes. So far, so good, though, except for that one point. I thought about that. I read that, and I immediately thought about blood memory. Okay. It's an opportunity to start over with her 3 daughters, Luna, Sapphire, and Clover. When 2 of her daughters go missing, she's frantic. She learns that the cave beneath the lighthouse was once a prison for women accused of witchcraft. The locals warn her about wildlings, supernatural beings who mimic human children, created by witches for revenge. Liv is told that wildlings are dangerous and must be killed. 22 years later, Luna has been searching for her missing sisters and mother. When she receives a call about her younger sister, Clover, she's initially ecstatic. Clover is the sister she remembers, except she's still 7 years old, the age she was when she vanished. Luna's worried Clover is a wildling. Luna has a few memories of her family's time on the... Girl, slow down. Luna has few memories of her time on the island, but she'll have to return to find the truth about what happened to her family. She doesn't realize just how much the truth will change her. I have read another one of C.J. Cooke's book, and that is The Ghost Woods, which was a really kind of funny wintertime read about, I guess it's really kind of, I would call it fungi horror. Loved it. Loved it. So I'm looking forward to finishing The Lighthouse Witches. Thought it was funny when Liv runs away emotionally, but again, I'll let it slide because it's a woman writing it, and there's more to the story that she's keeping from me right now. Anywho, that is it for me on my weekend books. I hope you've had a good reading week. I took 3 days off. Thought I wouldn't get everything I wanted to read. I thought I would slow down on my reading. I did not, so that's a win. But today is Sunday, and tomorrow it's back to work. Anywho, if you made it with me this far, as always, thank you for sticking with me on my journey, and happy reading.